Now you're playing with podcast.
Hello, welcome to Portland. Welcome to Now You're Playing with Podcast. It's about 10 after 5. We just got back from the Portland Retro Gaming Expo and a gut-wrenching, heart-pounding finale for the Classic Tetris World Championships, where Jonas Neumbauer won his 4th title in a row, but this time it went to the wire, and it was pretty fucking intense, and it was a sight to behold.
So it was best out of 5. Harry was the competitor. He got the first 2. And then, like the Red Sox, Jonas came back 3 in a row, and it was pretty intense.
Yeah, I'd say that Jonas is the Yankees, but a well-deserved win. And since most of the crowd was cheering for Harry, I wanted a good match, and I got a good match. And afterwards, Jonas actually came up to me and, pleased to meet you, because he'd signed my Tetris card earlier. And
also because you actually competed this year. Everybody competed that paid, but right. You actually... Say what happened.
Well, yeah. I went on Saturday and plopped down my $5 and took about 6 or 7 turns. Not a ton of turns, but I scored a 387,000, I think. And that placed me at 28th. So by the skin of my teeth, I qualified and got sort of grouped in with these real players. And in the first round, I faced Robin Mihara, who...
Did he create the tournament?
Yes.
Yeah.
He created the tournament and helped produce the movie, the Dexter's Sea of Order movie, and he was the kid who was 3rd place in the NWC back in the day, and he didn't compete recently, but now he's back to competing. And
unfortunately it was quick.
He clobbered me, but it was fun, and I'm glad that we talked some shit over Facebook the night before. He was posting all of his YouTube features of him when he was a kid and his newspaper articles when he was a kid, and then I came back and posted Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson. And
I think, did he see that you had tagged the Tetris tournament in your post?
We were friends on Facebook already,
okay.
So he was taunting it first, and then I started tagging him back on Facebook.
It was fun.
It was a good sense of humor. We made fun of his shower scene in his movie, and.
So how do you feel about your first round match about that weird podcasting guy?
I don't know much about his Tetris game. I think he was in the mid 3s to qualify.
High 3s.
But high 3s. Which leads me to believe that he's probably scored 5.
What's your prediction?
Well, I'm hoping for a sweep. I guess...
No, the correct answer was pain.
No, I'm not...
That's all right.
You can't predict anything in Tetris. It's like predicting something in poker. You never know what's going to happen. And just hope to get through it and then play my buddy Josh Tolles in the next round. Not that I'm looking past.
Anybody could beat Jonas?
It'd be really tough. Harry has gotten a lot better. He's got about 150 max outs under his belt now. Jonas probably has 4 times that.
Does he just do that for breakfast now?
It's pretty difficult. But the fact that I'm on the left side of the bracket with Jonas means there's almost no chance I can even get second, because even if I pulled out 3 miracle wins, I would still have to face him for the top, just to get in the top 2.
Yeah.
So that's an unlucky draw, but you never know. I played at 825 yesterday, which is my highest score ever, and I always seem to play a little better when the pressure's on. So
nice. Thanks.
Yep.
And then also for being in the top 32, you got a really neat custom World Championship card, much like they did it to be just like Nintendo World Championship, which is neat. Yeah,
like if you sponsored the tournament, they gave you a gold Tetris cartridge for gave $50. They gave you a nice gold specific Tetris cartridge for the tournament, and then if you finish in the top 32, they gave you a black and white Tetris cartridge.
And there's 32 of them, and then there was a 0, so the 33rd one, and they sold this at the auction for well over $200.
Nice.
So perhaps if you need some money someday, well, you can sell your whole collection, but also this too.
And unlike some of the other people in the lower rungs of the tournament, I showed up and took my beating like a man. There were a few no-shows who didn't want to face the likes of Jonas and the gang. So
there was someone who was running a marathon. Who does that? Come on.
Yeah, some woman who made the top 32 ran a marathon instead of taking her licks in Tetris. But I hope that I get a little, and everybody's super cool, and I got some of the guys that signed my box for me of my Tetris cartridge. And frankly, we didn't go to any panels on Sunday because of the Tetris tournament, and I'm kind of glad. I mean, it was...
Yeah. And maybe we should talk just an overview of the whole thing. It's Saturday and Sunday. It's at the convention center here, east of downtown Portland, and it's a huge room, one of their biggest ballrooms or whatever you want to call it. And I'd say half of it, maybe 2/3 of it, is vendors, like dozens of vendors, more vendors than you've ever seen it if you've gone to one of these in Ohio.
Yeah.
And then the other third is like the Tetris Championship area, and they have a bunch of consoles on to play, like, I don't know, 100 consoles maybe.
Yeah, kind of
Virtual Boy.
I mean, we're kind of jaded since we have so many console games ourselves, so it's like, I don't need to play.
Yeah, that's what I was saying on the way. I was like, why is that so interesting to people? But it's like, I guess
most people aren't collectors like that, and or if you're bringing along a bored girlfriend or kid, then they'll sit there and play Mario Kart or Zelda for 2 hours. And
then also they have our arcade cabinets, maybe 100 of those, plus 30 to 40 pinball machines.
Probably the best, like one of the best pinball upkeep jobs I've seen at one of these events.
Yeah, they had
the machines were in great shape.
They either paid or they had sponsorship from a pinball repair company, basically, and they had a whole area with all their tools and parts and lights. And so last year, I'd say, and I'm going to do some comparisons to last year. I think this year was better in quite a few ways. But last year, if a machine went down, it was down for the weekend. And this year, if one went down, it was repaired within an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they'd roll it out and repair it and bring it right back. So
they had some killer pinball mods too.
There's another company like pinballbulbs.com, I think they're called.
I didn't get the name of it.
And they had a lineup of 10, 11, just of the best modded, nicest playing pinball machines you'll ever see. All LEDs.
Yeah. Not only LEDs, but,
new toys.
But they put in some mood lighting in the back.
Black lights.
Just the Tron was just glowing Tron.
The rubbers were all colored. The rubbers. Yeah. on the flippers, they were all like custom colors.
Yeah, they were metallic looking flippers. Like the Addams Family played was like red metallic flippers, and it was.
The Tron had the little ROM playing of the arcade, just like Chris's machine, Chris Flore's machine. Pinball Chris, that's his name. Yeah. His real name. And what were some of the machines they had? Tron, Avatar, Wizard of Oz. Well, I guess Wizard of Oz was regular.
You finally got to play that. How'd you think?
Wizard of Oz? It was actually the weakest of that row, and I think it has a really cool play field, but the sound effects are lame. It just like dings, like ding, ding, but it's electronic.
Kind of goes with the movie. It's samples.
It's sample, okay. And the screen they have, like, I'm beginning to think that DMD, the standard size, is like the size a pinball screen should be, or they're just not using it right because you have no idea where to look. It's always like in quadrants, most of the time in quadrants, and it doesn't, like, when you do something cool, it doesn't flash to that. It just kind of puts up what you've done.
They haven't integrated it yet.
It's like a scoreboard more than like a baseball scoreboard or something. Just like tiny little things happen on it.
Right.
And you have to know where to look. But
I think that they can improve it, but it's a good backbone for a new system, and they're pushing Stern to do better, which they have been doing better.
Yes.
Metallica's fantastic.
They had the Metallica there, which I think is amazing too. I think it's.
I'm not a big Metallica fan, but they've been doing things. They're doing the pinball and them playing for Mariano Rivera at his retirement and other things.
Yes.
That's like, wow, I don't completely hate these guys after all.
Yeah. What else did they have? I think I played all of them once. They had Star Trek: The Next Generation, Twilight Zone, with like gumballs in the gumball machine, and everything you could think of that, like, to add to the machine, but without detracting from it. Like, that's the best part of it. It's not like flashy just for the sake of being flashy. Like, I think it actually adds to the mood. It's like hard to go back to the more dimly lit ones. Now I'm a snob. Pinball snob. Yeah.
So what else? We can start from the beginning. My wife and kid and I came up here Wednesday, and my wife had some friends up here, so we stayed with them for a few days and drove out to Cannon Beach and got chased by the Fratelli brothers.
In an ATV. Or whatever.
SUV.
SUV. That's right.
Yeah. And did hipster things on Thursday. Which, if you're gonna do hipster things, what better place to do that than Portland? And Saturday checked into the hotel at night and Saturday morning. I thought I was going to be the hit of the party and tried to interview some people in line, and I brought a box of Voodoo Donuts, and kind of didn't work. I did talk to one guy, which I'll splice in right here.
So what's your name? Where are you from?
It's Kyle. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
What brings you way out to Portlandia?
The Retro Video Game Convention.
Who are you looking forward to see most?
Probably David Crane, the programmer for Pitfall.
Yeah, he's great. You like buying a lot of crap too, you think?
Oh yeah, be buying a lot of swag.
What do you look for game-wise? Like, what's your holy grail that you hope to find but probably won't?
I mean, honestly, if I could just physically see a gold or gray NES World Championship cartridge, I think that'd be pretty cool.
I wonder if the Thor was here a couple years ago. Robin Mihar is here. He was like third place in the NWC, so they might have repros at least, or they'll do, I don't know, but they're in Tetris competition. Okay. You going to do any competitions?
I don't plan to, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Cool, thanks.
See, you have early entry.
We're back.
It was there.
He was very cool. And another guy behind me, he was cool, but didn't want a donut because he was getting in shape or something.
He was in good shape.
He was very good shape. He would have kicked my ass. And
also didn't want to be recorded.
And the other guy was deaf, and he had brought his own fruit. Just, like a good Pac-Man that he was.
I waited in line with that guy last year in the exact same. He was right behind me last year.
And the sad thing is they cut the line into two spaces, so we were at the very end of the first section, so we really couldn't go up and down the line too much. So I ended up giving the box to these guys waiting over for their regular day tickets because they had to wait for another hour before they could go in. Mm-hmm. And I didn't talk to any of them because...
And they were able to play Mario on their face or something, their mouth.
Yeah, some guy was doing one of these...
He was the hit of the line, not Chris.
Yes,
not Chris.
Not me. I did that in grade school, though.
But, the first thing I noticed was how much longer the line was. So this place was... Well, still not packed because it's a big room. And
yes, it's the perfect max space. No geek sweat smells.
Mm-hmm.
The food was for a convention center reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
This great space, plenty of space to play arcade games. The stage was off to the side, and it wasn't so loud that you couldn't think. Because they kept the vendors completely on the other side from the
you were able to
kept the music on the side of the arcade games where it should be.
You were able to hear it without even having to go over there, but it wasn't like overpowering. Like if it was like a little room with I didn't think about that, but that would be annoying if it was.
So that was a great setup. My one little nitpick complaint was the setup for panels. They were outside auditoriums across the way, and I guess with Tetris last year, they had the finals in the auditorium, and hardly anybody showed up because... I
was saying that I think it was slightly less people, but it was just, there was more seating, it was more a solemn affair. Like, you had to actually think that you wanted to go over there and, like, enter the room where it was, like, up on a stage. Like, here it was, like, a lot more walk-ins, like, people walking by, like, oh, what's that?
Oh, shit, yeah.
And they stopped and, like, and watched it. So it was much improved, and they also, the whole time they had their own space. Like, they didn't have to move camp from one place to the other. Like, they had their whole like little room, and I think it's a mutual thing. Like, they each, they like having them there and they like being there.
Yeah, but they had two auditoriums, and the first annoying thing was they went back and forth. They kind of they didn't line up. So if you wanted to go to two different panels. Oftentimes, you had to leave one early or go to the other one late. And then the other thing is there was no rhyme or reason to the order of them. There's kind of at these things a group of Atari fans and then a group of Nintendo fans, and they're almost completely different camps.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's going to be that way, you might as well have all the Atari guys in one of the auditoriums or have a itinerary of you can go to all the Atari things at one time. Like, I was talking to the gentleman that created Space Rocks, and he was at the Atari Age booth. Let me look up his name. But they were doing the Atari competition with his new Space Rocks game at the exact same time he was doing his homebrew panel. So he couldn't even get to see his own game in action. Let me find the gentleman's name, because I talked to him for a good 5 minutes. He was really cool.
I went to less of the panels this year because there were some repeats too. So I just I like Pat the NES Punk was Well, also he like talked too. I would rather have just gone in and played him and have it be, not much time needed. Because last time you just walked in and stood in line, and I was like 5th in line, so I just played him and left, and that was cool.
And I got to talk to Joe, who was Joe DeCure, I believe his name is. He helped design the 2600 hardware. He helped design the Atari 400-800 computer. He wrote a couple of the games, like Video Olympics, and he helped with combat. So he was there at the really early days. Mm-hmm. And later on, he helped invent freaking USB. He works for IEEE. He works for that. That's, oh, wow. Yeah, he works for the and he only had an hour, and he was only like about 3/4 of the way through his presentation. And he got kicked out because, some podcasters had to come up next or some shit. Oh, yeah.
I think he only got like 45 to 50 minutes in the room.
Yeah, and I got to talk to him briefly, and I wanted to ask him just if he knew, if he was able to appreciate what he was doing by solving all his problems, looking, in detail and solving all these horrible problems elegantly, if what he was doing was changing the world. Because if you listen to David Crane talk about this stuff, he always talks about how video games drive computers, even down to the fact that the World Wide Web is a giant video game. If it were still text-based, the web wouldn't be what it is today. Fewer people would use it. It would still be a niche sort of thing. So by presenting information in a visual sense, that's what a video game actually is. But I couldn't get to that part of the question because he had to sign about 15 2600s for these other guys waiting in line. And all he basically said was, well, I know that video games took in more money than movies. And that's kind of the problem with the video game industry is they try to compare themselves to movies, whereas they're more important than movies. Movies don't change the world as much as games do.
Not anymore. Used to.
They've done more than movies ever have. Movies is propaganda at best, and video games can move way more than... But that's another discussion for another podcast. But Joe is super cool.
Controversial discussion.
I got him to sign a Video Olympics I'm probably going to give to Tatton, and I also got him to sign my Atari poster, which now has several signatures on it, including Joe's and David Crane's and Gary Kitchen's. And I hope to go to more of these events next year and get new people to sign it that haven't signed it yet. But that was the only panel I went to, unfortunately. Well, I guess later that night we went to trivia.
Yes, let's talk about that. So it's Things from Another World sponsors it, and it's called Geek Trivia, and they do it, I think, every 2 weeks in Portland, which would be awesome if I would go to that. So they've been here the last 2 years at least. Were they here when you were?
Yes.
Okay, so they always come, and 20 questions, bar trivia basically. You make a team, name your team. Our team was Now You're Playing with Podcast, of course.
We're the lamest name. Everybody else was funny except us.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Cubs Win was a good team name, though.
Daryl Spice Jr. is the gentleman who created Space Rocks, and he was super great at the Atari Age booth. And
was he selling at the Atari Age? Was he just?
He was working there. Like Al was there too, and Al kind of saw me, and I asked for a Double X T-shirt, and he kind of looked at me and went back to talking to his friends. So that was kind of a. And he got better people to worry about than me.
So you know that guy? Well, you know someone already?
I met Al briefly a couple years ago.
Did they know you from your giant shipment of Atari carts that you, or are people always doing that?
I don't know. I'm not in that echelon of Atari fans. I'm kind of a tweener.
Did you use any of your store credit today? Okay.
I spent. They had a deal. If you spent $50, you got a T-shirt for $5. So I ended up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Spent $75.
They had it right on the sign there. Oh. So I picked up Crazy Bricks for the 7800 there, and that's basically Arkanoid. Mm-hmm. And Medieval Madness for 2600, which is an updated version of Warlords
with the cool
arcade graphics.
It's got a dragon that flies amazingly and that shoots the fireball, which is the instead of like a catapult ball, which I think of in Warlords, it's a fireball, and then if you hold the fireball, it damages, since it's fire, it damages your castle, so you can't hold it forever.
Yeah, I haven't looked through the book yet, but it's it's like the ultimate version. Mm-hmm. I was interested in picking up Frenzy for the 7800. That has both Berserk and Frenzy, but they were only selling box copies, and they have to sell those out first before they start selling loose copies. So maybe next year for Christmas or something. But another thing, let's
go back to the trivia thing.
Oh, let's go trivia, sure.
Yeah, because this is a good story. It was me and Chris and Linda and their daughter.
Delia. Yeah,
But
we'll use her.
okay, Delia. She. You're allowed to have 5 people, and we were just going to be just us 3, Chris and Linda and me, and but then a couple came in, and they wanted to know, how to get their paper to sign up. We were like, hey, just join us, and we kicked ass at trivia. Like
Silver and
Wes were their
Wes,
names.
yes.
And
thank you guys.
I think we missed just 2 questions.
Yeah.
We were 2 points ahead of every other team, and there was probably 50 teams, like 40 to 50.
There was a lot of teams.
Yeah.
They read through a lot of funny team names, and ours wasn't funny because I didn't think we could do that.
Yeah.
But they ended up getting. Well, here's the thing. You and I knew. Well,
general stuff.
We knew most of the old stuff.
Yeah.
There was an N64 question at the end of name all of the original Smash Brothers characters.
And if you name them all, name how many have to be unlocked, and that's a bonus. You have to name all 12 first, and then you can say how many.
That was a 13-point question that she absolutely nailed. And
knocked out of the park.
Without that, we wouldn't have won.
But Chris and I think, each got good ones. You had the question was, what was the first company to have an analog joystick controller home console? And probably everybody's thinking Nintendo. I would have put Nintendo 64.
Nintendo 64, yeah. Sega Saturn, Sony PlayStation.
But it's Atari 5200, and Chris knew that immediately.
I knew what the Mattel television was.
Yeah.
They showed a picture of it with
some people thought it was ColecoVision.
Yeah, a lot of ColecoVision answers on that one. I knew Alex Kidd was the first mascot of Sega.
Infocom for Zork. Mm-hmm. And then I knew one of the first LucasArts games, which is Ball Blazer. I did not know the other one, Rescue on Fractalus. Yeah, but I don't think anybody got either of those, really. So
we got a bunch of nice hardcover books. And a T-shirt, and you ended up getting a T-shirt because it was large.
And the books were split up.
The books, I ended up taking the Final Fantasy book, like an art book.
And there was the Zelda Hyrule Historia book.
Yeah, which is super valuable. But we let Silver take that, and there was like a Mass Effect book and something else.
Some comics, like Halo comic.
Yeah. It's pride. We're the best goddamn podcast in the land.
The tiebreaker, there was one tie for like 3rd place, and they played Street Fighter 2.
Not a very dramatic match, but that was a cool way to break the tie.
I think they do that for normal geek trivia, not just the video game trivia. And then I went to a panel that Chris would have been mad at if he went to, because it was Retronauts, and they were talking about Genesis, and they immediately said, like, we're not Sega people, we're Nintendo kids. I'm like, okay. But enough about that.
All right, we are podcasters. We're fellow podcasters. They're better than us. They have hundreds of thousands of listeners and did a Kickstarter to get themselves on board. But if you're going to go to a show like this, pick a topic that you know. You can, if you're going to, but okay, whatever.
Maybe more like a game collecting theme. I don't know. I listen to them. I like the podcast. I've listened to them for like 6 years, however long they've been around. So I'm a fan.
I mean, if you're going to do these public shows, then, stick to your expertise. Because if you can do a recorded show, you can do some research. And, with the... We can talk about Retronauts because we're going to have a future episode where we talk about other podcasts, but that's with me and other guests I have lined up. Mm-hmm.
So how were I guess I should ask you, the selection of games? We should talk about what we got, I guess. And the prices, what did you think?
Standard fare. I went in this time with a specific list to pick up some of the holes in my Atari collection because, unless you check constantly, you don't realize what you're missing. Or, like, you have a copy of Pele Soccer without an end label.
So, like, label variations, too, you're thinking? Yeah.
So,
okay, you got... Yeah.
Well, let's start with my Atari games.
Sure.
And the big find from Joe Grand's booth, actually, who was only there Saturday. He had a copy of Crazy Climber for $60.
Good price.
That's a pretty good price.
Yeah.
And, I had a decent budget this time around, so I went ahead and took the plunge. And
is that one of the first things you got?
I got it on Saturday. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It wasn't one of the first, but yeah, it was probably my initial run. Mm-hmm. Then let's see some more comments of Pele Soccer. Basic math with the number label, so now I'm just down to finding Starship with a number label. So you have that whole set of the original 9.
Is that one hard to find because you haven't had it until now, or you just?
I found one for 10, which is overpriced, but I think maybe there won't be others.
Yeah,
I picked it up for 10, and I found one for 3 later on, which I'm kicking myself for. But we'll get to the karma thing later. I think I made up for it. copy of Starship text label. So a copy of Outlaw and Bowling, because there's color variations on these. And then Raiders of the Lost Ark, but on the end it says Raiders Lost Ark. No of the.
Pole positum.
It's my pole positum type thing. So
you put that next to it, right?
Yeah, I probably will. So those are my Atari fill in the blanks. Copy of Millipede for the 800, 400, 8-bit.
Those are fun to collect, right? I mean, the carts look terrible. I mean,
they're still plain. They all say left cartridge on the top, so you actually have to look at them.
But they're all usually pretty good versions of
great
the games. Yeah, and you don't have to play with the 5200 controllers. They're pretty much the same. Yeah,
I picked up Typing Tutor for the Tandy. That was the only Tandy game I saw in the whole place. I picked up a Tandy at the Atari Computer Enthusiasts a couple months back, and I don't have any games for it, and I still don't have any games for it, but now I got something to test it out with.
Hey, you can learn to type.
Yeah, and I can learn to type.
Oh, no.
Shit.
Stop pulling that label.
Picked up a Gateway to Apshai for the Coleco, which I don't think I have.
Kind of a gauntlet style.
Yeah.
It's from the makers of, I think Jumpman has a similar label. Yeah, Epix.
Yeah, Epix.
It's okay.
And,
I found one Engage game for you, but you didn't want it, so.
No, yeah. I only want, I needed
some side playing. You play it sideways now, too. No.
So we'll go with Steve's random cart finds there.
Okay, that was like the first thing I got when I got in there was probably actually Tingle's Balloon Fight. It was the only one I saw there. It's like a Club Nintendo exclusive in Japan. So I think it's not much more than Balloon Fight, but it has a cool design. And yeah, I think it's slightly rare, at least here.
It's Balloon Fight. It's a good game.
Yeah, and it's Balloon Fight.
It's not shit.
And from the same guy, I also got Donkey Kong Jr. Math. Well, Becky likes this, right? No, it's a terrible game. I've played it on Animal Crossing. That was the first and only time I played this game.
What'd you spend on it?
Oh, 30.
I saw a copy of Stack Up for 60.
Yeah, just the game.
Just the game.
For 60. I saw that, too.
And
not even in great shape, too.
Fucking Nintendo fans. Ugh.
And then it turns out I still also needed for the black labels. And these are both 5 screws. That's good.
Nice.
Should I even think about, upgrading the ones I've already bought to 5? Whatever. I'll think about it later.
No. If you see it cheap, yes.
Yeah,
but don't
worry about it.
Yeah.
Volleyball was the other one. So I think all I need is Stack Up now for those black labels. But Stack Up,
that one.
You can't even play it.
You can.
I mean, you can, but
you find a game to play. It's it's just dumb.
And then for Nintendo, I also got a few. Well, Metal Storm is a valuable one. I got it for $50. I think it goes for more.
Wow.
So
and
it's a great game too.
That's one of those I got back from Burt sale for when I got 6 games for $10 at a time.
And then Gremlins 2, Pipe Dream. Joe and Mac is a little uncommon because it came out
there's
on the Super Nintendo at the same time. Yeah. And then this looks like absolute garbage. Why did I get this? Kid Cool and the Quest for the 7 Wonder Herbs.
Is Quest spelled with a K?
No.
Oh.
That would KU. Yeah, it'd be good.
Quest, KWEST.
Let's see. I'll move on to Atari stuff. I did pick up 3 homebrews or repros from Atari Age, which their setup was super
Atari
nice.
Age's booth, best of the show as always.
Yeah.
Right next to the other booth, which I forget their name, but they had this garage sale theme where they build a garage. But it was so tightly packed in there.
Their concept is getting away from them. Like last year, it was Halo military bunker themed, I think. Or no, it was Solid Snake. They had a giant. Anyway, it was like camo netting, so you couldn't even see anything in there, and it was even more
too
cramped.
much nerd sweat in there, man, guys. Just I appreciate what you guys are trying to do. I like that you're being creative with it.
And you always have the first.
You always have good stuff to buy and decent prices, but maybe just do decorations on don't make an enclosure.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
But that's small nitpick.
I got Toy Shop Trouble, which is a cool Christmas-themed painting the toys. Very
AT-ATs are in it.
What's that?
They're toy AT-ATs.
Nice. Very complex gameplay, I think, because you have to paint. It gets
kind of
really
reminds
crazy.
me of Pressure Cooker. Kind of.
I don't know that.
It's an Activision game. It's a really good one.
I got Space Duel, which is a variation on Asteroids, which is supposed to be pretty cool. And they actually had the arcade cabinet of that there. It never came out on a home console, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Until recently.
That's one I need to still pick up.
And then Marble Craze, which is a labyrinth-style Atari game that you play with 2 paddles, one for each axis of your movement.
It's best music ever.
And it has amazing music.
Paul Slocum.
Yeah. They're doing some good things with the music. Like, we saw a Sonic demo.
Zippy the Porcupine.
Wow. And the music was, I mean, as good as it could possibly get on the system. It had the rings even spinning. I don't know how people do this on the system.
Oh my God, they had a fantastic demo of Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It looked...
It has all 4 levels, too.
The graphics looked like the fucking arcade game. I mean, they had the limitations. So they had a scrolling screen, and they didn't have an inclined...
Yeah, it was just like step
board. It was just straight lines. But Mario...
when you die, you spin.
It was amazing. Apparently... Daryl was telling me, the guy who did Space Rocks, that they found an inexpensive chip that allows it, that they're putting in these newer Harmony games, the Atari age, to do these more complex games. I guess it lets more cycles go through while the screen is redrawing. I'm not the technical guy, but basically Pitfall 2 did the same thing. So this isn't like cheating, 21st century cheating. This is 1984 cheating. Having a coprocessor on a chip.
And anyway, it's not cheating at all because it plays on the original system.
It plays on the original hardware without it, because they're trying to... Some of the Atari Age guys are doing like a 7800 expansion unit or some bullshit, and that's too expensive to play some homebrews. You always want your stuff more powerful and that sort of thing, but you're kind of defeating the purpose of a homebrew if you have to have like an additional piece of hardware to play them. But the stuff on a chip, that's certainly within bounds, and there is some amazing stuff coming up. Could
you hear the music on the Donkey Kong at all?
Yeah. I didn't hear music, but I mean, the sound effects sounded great. Yeah. Like, they even had the little intro screen with Donkey Kong pulling up.
Yeah, how high can
Pauline
you...
and the how high can you get screen, and...
That was cool.
Holy fuck.
And then, I guess, another Atari game I got that was not super common is Bank Heist. I heard it's a good game. That was $15 though. Chris is like, I got that for you.
No.
Yeah. And then for some reason
we got Frostbite and...
Oh yeah, I got Frostbite, Midnight Magic, Dragonfire. These are all just a couple bucks. Oh yeah, Midnight Magic was $1, I think.
Midnight Magic for $1, dude. Yeah. That's fantastic.
And Title Match Pro Wrestling for the 7800. That was $1.
Wow,
that's a non-first party. One of the few non-first party 7800 games.
I don't even know if I've got that one.
Oh, you see it occasionally, but it's like $10 usually. So the guy was just like, "Yeah, everything in there."
I think I have the 2600 version, and it's really the same game. It's like Pete Rose Baseball. Like the graphics are different,
Commando.
But the gameplay is exactly the same. It's just better graphics drawn on top of the same skeleton.
And then I got some ColecoVision Frontline and War Games. Now, when I first went through the show, I was thinking, oh man, Chris is going to be unhappy. I think people pulled out their Atari stuff later once they sold all their Nintendo stuff or something, because the second and third time I went through, I saw a lot more really old stuff.
Right.
Maybe I was just not looking for it correctly, but it's fun looking through Atari boxes and finding the one or two things that you don't see every single time. It's yeah.
I'm trying to find like Channel F stuff and Arcadia 2001 stuff and Engage stuff, just stuff that you don't see in stores all the time, and that stuff just dried up everywhere. I didn't see much of any of that sort of thing, so I spent most of the thing filling in holes, and I did find a couple. Well, I'll
go with your Genesis.
I found a homebrew of Fix-It Felix Jr. for the Sega Genesis. So that is fucking cool. And I mean, it was a cute little game that, you could play online, and they made a couple arcade cabinets. So I have yet to see, I didn't see it in action, but this is probably going to be a hexadecathlon.
The label's really nice on it.
The label's pretty well done. It looks like the modern Genesis game with the red label, with the red stripe down the middle. Another random thing I got was Superstar Soldier for the TurboGrafx, just a card only. I had $12 left in cash on Saturday, and it was marked at $15, and the lady kindly took $12 for it. So again, good karma. Thank you to that lady at that booth at the very far end who probably didn't get much traffic go their way. Alfred Chicken for the Amiga CD32. So I now have a real game for that system. It's a platformer. I have Super Alfred Chicken on the SNES. So it'll be interesting to see how well this one plays. It's colorful. It's a platformer. You're a chicken.
Who came up with that name, Alfred? Such a boring name.
One of the questions at trivia was name these 3 douchebag characters, and it was Bubsy Bobcat and Arrow the Acrobat and
Crash Bandicoot doing the most douchey pose you've ever seen.
Douchey 80s, 90s.
They were just trashing.
Alfred Chicken is just lame. Is a lame name, but the game's probably decent. And now I have 2 games for my CD32. Oh, this one's a winner. Mutant Rampage Body Slam for the Philips CDI.
Oh yeah, that looks amazing. It's got the weirdest nipples on the back.
It's got that terrible CDI animation that you see in the Zelda games. Yeah. The year is 2068. The great centers of civilization have fallen into decay. Cybernetic technology has created a class of bionically augmented athletes and warriors. Their sport is a no-holds-barred hand-to-hand combat spectacle in the ravaged streets of the old cities. Yeah, this is going to be fucking awful. But again, the garage sale booth, I got 2 games. This one was marked at 10. I had Space Ace for Sega CD. It was marked at 11. He sold them both to me for 15 total. Wow. So, major league discounts. Thanks. I mean, that's why I'm not...
Another thing about their booth is I'm sure a lot of stuff got... Well, maybe people are pretty honest at this show, but it would have been easy.
That seemed been ripe for theft. Yeah. But again, we are kind of in Portland, and I didn't see any gutter punks there, so that's like the only criminal element around here, these parts. Picked up an Ecstasy of Order soundtrack, which, got that for $5. Saw 8-Bit Weapon. They're kind of a staple at these events. Some people
2 days in a row.
Like them or don't like them. My daughter was there. She's 4. She saw a girl on stage playing music and doing a robot voice. So we went up to them after the show, and they were super nice to her and signed a CD for us. And I didn't have any more cash on me, so they just gave us a CD, and I PayPal'd them $10 later that night. So again, awesome vibe. Thank you guys. You didn't have to do that. And when you're a 4-year-old with not much of an attention span, it's really cool when adults and grown-ups pay attention to you. It's like a couple cosplayers let her take a picture with her.
You think it's pretty good for kids? I mean, for like half.
4-year-olds are probably a little too young, especially little girls that don't particularly like any video game that presents any sort of challenge. I wanted to play pinball with her. She wouldn't want to play pinball. We played a racing game one time. We played some Crazy Taxi and just wrecked all over the place. But we got to dance for a bit, and
there are like vendors that I kind of just skip over, but that are selling tchotchkes and art and memorabilia. So
there was some kids. Great stuff. If I had more room in my bag, I would have thought about buying some more of the art stuff.
Perler bead stuff. And, actually, you're talking about
the 2.5D guys. They took that bead art to an extreme. They set it kind of in a diorama setup, shadow box setup, and then they had layers. So they did 16-bit games, which are far more complex pixel-wise. So they were these huge pieces. There's this one gigantic Final Fantasy II piece that would make Becky lose her absolute shit if she saw in person. I got a picture of it, but pictures really don't do those justice.
And their Fan Gamer was there. They have really neat kind of hipster, like threadless style T-shirts. They're cool. I have a couple of things from them just from online, and. What else? The NES Club guys were there, and I talked to them briefly about they were in Columbus at Warp Zone at Darren's store. They were saying how cool he is, so yeah, and he apparently is sponsoring them a bit too.
Yeah.
So I liked their Facebook page too. Should I talk about more stuff?
Yeah, you think sure.
Okay, I got some Xbox games, which I hardly ever buy Xbox games. I know, but Morrowind. I think it was like $10. And it has it's the regular box, but it has the Game of the Year edition, so it has all the DLC on it. Well,
we were talking about that. I have to do more research, but that might have been like a paper sleeve over the Game of the Year edition.
Yeah, maybe. Because usually when you see the Game of the Year edition, it is the case and the disc have like a white stripe because they're like greatest hits.
Greatest hits.
And this one does not have that. So I think that probably is true.
And since you're not going to be able to get DLC anymore anyway, that's the better way to buy that particular game.
Yeah, and actually I think it was DLC that was PC DLC because it never would have been on Xbox DLC.
Oh, right. They didn't do DLC back then.
Yeah, I don't think they did. They did have Xbox Live then, but...
It was limited.
I also got Stubbs the Zombie, which is one I've wanted since it came out, really, and you hardly ever see that. So, like, really, I've never seen it for sale on one of these shows. I'm sure you could get it online if you wanted, but it's like it's Halo Engine, and it's a zombie, check that out, zombie shooter. You play the zombie, basically, eating human brains. It's like, the cover is awesome. It's just like a zombie tearing apart a person's
1950s
head.
with the brown derby on. Stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mars Attacks, but zombie.
Right.
Anyway, very cool. And Ninja Gaiden Black, which is $5, and I just want to play through the game again. And this has some extra stuff. It's one of my favorite games ever. So the original Ninja Gaiden. And then also for PlayStation 2, Contra Shattered Soldier, cool cover art. SNK Arcade Classics. This makes up for not having. This makes up for that Neo Geo X being so horrible.
You know, that's kind of funny. You were talking about how they just put the kibosh on the Neo Geo X.
They said stop selling.
They put their official name on this disc, and that emulation isn't exactly perfect either. So that's kind of funny.
But it's worth having.
The Shattered Soldier game, it looks like a 2D. I mean, it's probably 2.5D.
I've heard it's better than the PlayStation 1 Contras.
Yeah, I mean, it probably has that mushy control that completely ruins it.
Yeah. It's got a nice illustration there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so. And then I always look for 78. Okay, it's impossible to find 7800 games that are not like the 5 you always see. Mm-hmm. So I got a sealed copy of Meltdown, which I looked at, and it's not actually that uncommon. It's just R2, but I've never seen it before. So, Becky and Tatton, you can have the box if you want. After I open it, I don't need the box. And then Revenge of Shinobi was the only Genesis game I believe I got, but badass Genesis game.
Hell of a Genesis game. Yeah. Is there a way to tell if this is the one with the superheroes as the bad guys in it?
Oh, did they have to change that or something?
Yes.
Oh,
it's hard to. I don't know if you can tell from the box only.
Is one more uncommon than the other?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Like you fight Spider-Man.
You fight like Spider-Man and Batman, and
it's cool.
Yeah, it's weird stuff. I'll go here. I picked up Fighting Vipers 2 from Mad Gear Games. He was awfully nice and booted. He had it listed at $39. He sold to me for $30. It's the European version.
Did he? You guys know each other, right? Too.
He didn't recognize me.
Okay.
He would have recognized Tatton, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He bought stuff from me back at the Korgs a few years ago when they were back at the.
Yeah, it's weird seeing people here that you've seen all the way to Ohio.
But he doesn't go to all the shows anymore, and he didn't have a very big table this time, so...
Probably because he had to fly with it.
Yeah, that's probably true. Some of the stuff I filled in my Intellivision collection, copy of Boxing and Sub Hunt complete. Got a box for Microsurgeon for $5, which is a great price. I think I have the manual and overlays for it at home, hopefully. I don't know yet.
Watch out for that label, though, on that Microsurgeon. That might be hard.
Oh, yeah.
CD Game Exchange has the worst labels.
We'll find out. That could be a disaster. I already talked about Space Ace. Picked up Shining Force 2, a complete copy.
Nice-looking box, cardboard
Great
box.
condition. I mean, when you do find this game, it's in those shitty Genesis paper boxes, and this is in great shape. I got it for $50, and I also picked up Three Ninjas Kickback for $10. Which I've seen, that's one of those games I see in Game Gavel. It's really overpriced by this particular dealer, so it must be sort of rare.
It's a rare game for Super Nintendo, for sure.
Yeah, so, good for the Three Ninjas. Dinosaur Tale I got for $2.99 for Genesis complete, or I think it's complete. Yeah, it's complete. Mm-hmm. I might already have it, but I wasn't sure. But for $3, it's a good risk. Baseball Stars Professional for the Neo Geo AES. Nice. No instructions unless it's under here. Nope, just a case and a game, but $30. Really good deal. That could have been loose for $30. I still would have probably bought it. Mm-hmm. Love the Baseball Stars series.
Yeah.
You go ahead. Did we talk about the Tetris? They got the cart.
Yeah, we talked about that.
The box. They got me the special box
World
card.
Championships.
And I put We'll stick in. I talked with Robin on microphone. We could stick that in the interview later before.
I want to talk about the HDMI NES that I saw. This is like Retro Zone. They used to make like a lot of like Mr. Gimmick and Repros Online, Battle Kid, but they've kind of stopped.
USB?
Yeah, sorry, Retro USB, not Retro Zone.
So what's the deal with Battle Kid 2? I didn't.
It's the same thing, Retro Zone, Retro USB.
Okay.
Yeah. Battle Kid 2.
Are we going to get any more copies of that?
I don't even know if.
That's kind of a bullshit if they don't.
I should have asked them. Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna stop doing repros, that's one thing, but don't stop the homebrews.
I think it really hurts the maker of the game because he had like some deal with.
That's some bullshit if that doesn't come back out. That's bull. Okay.
They should transfer the rights or something. Someone who actually wants to make it, I guess. But the HDMI Nintendo was really sweet. I took a picture of it. I'll post it online. I think you can see. It seems like it would not work at all. I mean, but it's
now
it works.
I've heard of a mod where they mod your NES with the Play Choice board to get RGB to get an RGB signal out. Mm-hmm. Is this how they made the HDMI Nintendo, or did they find a different way to do this, or did they do an NES on a chip?
I don't know. Yeah.
And if it's an NES on a chip, then that kind of defeats the whole purpose. I mean, I'm still kind of I'm interested in that Retron 5, which apparently they had one on display there. I didn't really get to play it, and they gave one away.
I'll talk about the last stuff I got. WarioWare Twisted, I got just the cart. Chris had given me the box at one point.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. That's to say, you never buy that stuff blank.
No.
But there you go.
I have been known to buy Game Boy stuff without the box. I mean, because it's just Game Boy. But I wanted this game, and since I had the box, go for it. Metroid Prime Pinball, which was sealed. It does have the Rumble Pack. Astro Warrior for Master System, which a lot of people had Master System stuff, but just...
It's the same stuff. Nothing rare.
So, like, one guy had this Astro Warrior, and it's a good game, too.
It's a good shooter.
Yeah. I remember playing this back in the day, too. My one friend that had... The one friend.
The one Master System
who had a Master System. He lived next door to me. He was a sociopath. True story. I got Astal, the game with no spine label, which is a cool,
gorgeous 2D game.
Yeah.
Weird art, and it never took off, and it was past the 2D platforming prime, but...
Same thing with Saturn. That was dried up from what they had, really. I mean, it's typical, but last year was a lot better for Saturn, I'd say, here. Skies of Arcadia for Dreamcast. Extremely high encounter rate. $40.
That's fair.
But you see the condition of it. It's
really good.
Yeah. I didn't know it was 2 discs.
Yes.
Until now. And then some PlayStation stuff. Tomb Raider 3. I know it's a shitty game. It's $2. Dino Crisis 2. It's like a Resident Evil game with dinosaurs. Grand Stream Saga, which is a mediocre RPG from the makers of Soul Blazer. And The City of Lost Children. I only saw one copy of that there. It's like a cool
that's one of those weird not really a point and click, but kind of a strange adventure game.
It looks kind of like a Blade Runner, that old Blade Runner.
It's based on a movie. It's like a rare movie, like a French or some shit. Weird. It's with strange.
Ron Perlman.
Yeah,
but a French movie. But
it was one of the games Linda rented back in the day, and while we were dating, I found a copy, but without a case and without a. It was like a reprint.
The cover is hideous. Like, I don't know why anybody would have bought this game.
Yeah, nobody did.
Because there's no fans of it. The movie, yeah.
It's up there rarity wise. You only paid like $15 for it?
$15,
yep. Really good price for complete.
But while I was buying this, someone next to me bought Skygunner for $20 for PlayStation 2, which is like a super great deal for that game. They didn't know what it was worth. Oh, you have to tell your story in a second. Yeah. And then Star Trek Invasion. I don't know. This is on a list of things I should get. I don't know what it's... I think it's about the Borg, and it's like an action game, like a shooter, or like a space combat, so might be good. And a Tomb Raider manual, because I don't have a manual for my Tomb Raider.
Yeah, the garage sale guys, holy shit, if I had more time,
yes,
they had crates of instruction manuals that were just sitting there.
How much were they?
I don't think they were, I think they were just there.
You could take them?
They didn't have a price tag. I mean...
Oh, man, I didn't, because I had found some.
Ask.
Yeah.
I didn't ask, but... If I had time, which I didn't, you never do these things. God damn it, they're too fucking packed full. first world problem. But I could have filled in some gaps. I'm sure they had so many instruction books just sitting there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were quite a few just boxes of instruction booklets, and some vendors even had the instruction booklets in alphabetical order. I appreciated that. But,
yeah.
But, I usually just try to buy the things with the manuals, so there's a few I do need. But if I just have a cart of a Nintendo game, I don't care. Like, if someone were to give me a manual that of a game I had, I would keep it. But
Genesis in particular for me is like the big...
Yeah, because you can store it in the box. It doesn't take up more space.
Yeah, there are some gaps that I need to find out what I need books for, and it's so bottom of the line importance.
I'll help you update that on RFGen someday.
Yeah, one of these days. I have to do a whole audit of my collection one of these days.
You can find a lot of differences.
Yeah, I'm going to find some bad stuff here.
I'll help you with that too.
My so here's the good story. You hope
the karma story.
The karma story. Found a booth that had a Dr. CDX. It looks like it's for European Mega CD, which is the Sega CD, that basically allows you... Pro CDX, that's not Doctors, but it's written in this weird font that looks like DRS instead of PRO.
Doctors.
Yeah. It's got this horrible kit on the front, but it's a cartridge that lets you play imported Sega CD games on your Sega CD. But it's made for Europe. But I don't know yet. I have to get home and try it. I think that it'll work on an American system to let you play other countries' Sega CDs.
And do you have any? You don't have any right now? Games?
I don't have any right now. I looked there. I only found a few, and they were all RPGs. I wasn't going to drop another $10 on an RPG I couldn't play.
Yeah.
I'm mostly interested in playing the Japanese version of Sonic CD because of the different music, which Tatton does have a copy of, so I can probably just go to his house.
Does he have a system to play it on?
No.
Oh, so he just has it. Okay.
He just has it. But from that same booth, they had another stack of Sega CD games on the floor, and on top of that stack was ESPN NBA Hang Time 95 for the Sega CD. Uber rare Sega CD game.
$100.
$100 at least. Or maybe $50 at least, or it's just ridiculous off the charts. The guy was about to sell it to me for $5 because it was a stupid sports game, and I told him it's worth way more than that, and he ended up selling me the CDX Pro and the NBA Hang Time for $50 total. The CDX was listed at $30, so I basically got this game for $20. He was about to sell it to me for $5. And I was going to spend $50, but he actually just said, "Look, if it's worth that much, thank you for being honest. Here, take it for that total price."
That's cool.
Super.
And it's in great condition. I don't know if you said that already.
It's in gorgeous condition. I'm almost afraid to take it on the plane because it'll crack it. I bought this Space Ace for Sega CD deliberately with the broken case because I can replace it at home. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. But
maybe you should wrap it in some newspaper or something. Or...
Yeah, I'll figure something out. I got a lot of packing.
I think for the most part, though, the cases, like all the Sega CD stuff I touched, all the Saturn stuff I touched, the cases were pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess we're just in that. That's what happened. Like people have. It's only for collectors now, and people.
I didn't see a lot of sports games for Sega Saturn, by the way. So I think that market has been tapped. They've mined all those out.
Well, sometimes I think about, because you see a lot of Super Nintendo homebrews, or not homebrew, but repros, and I'm thinking about all the carts. Like, it still is a finite. I know there's millions of copies of some of these terrible sports games, but, it is finite, and it is going to start... I don't know. Do you think it'll start drying up, or is there just that many?
It's that 15-year, 20-year... 20 years now. Shit. Next, 2 years. It's 18 years at this point. So, I'm glad I have my Saturn collection now. I'll tell you that. That's just getting harder and harder.
The average price is like $40.
It's just getting higher and higher. That's getting bad. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just going to work on Sega CD, which I've got about 20 games left for it, and I don't see those anywhere. This NBA Hang Time's the first time I've ever seen that game.
Wow. Yeah.
So I did pass on a Demolition Man that I needed. It was $25, and I just I'm done spending it. I kept myself from overdoing it.
I didn't. Although, okay, I got more than last year, but I spent less. So
good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't spend much money on the Sunday this time because normally they do. No one just walking through is like, ooh, I can spend more money. It's like, nope, we're playing pinball this time.
Yeah, a lot of pinball.
Watching Tetris and playing pinball. I went to Atari Age because they took credit cards. I didn't have to.
I like their little credit card iPad. That was nice.
God, their booth is so good. They should go to more shows.
Yeah, we should talk about how it was nice. Like they had, first of all, I don't know, 30. That's my standard number of Commodore monitors just set up all around.
It used to be that they would have about a dozen or so demo units, all with the same Commodore monitors. But they've got more demo units, like more games to demo now. So they went ahead and just got regular televisions in different sizes and stuff. But now they've got like 2 giant LCD screens showing like your typical corporate menu sort of thing, like all displaying all their games and doing that whole movie bit and. But
also every game they have set up has a plexiglass displayer next to it with telling you what it is.
Yeah.
And then also on their table they have plexi with the instruction manuals of every game that they're selling and like an example of every game they're selling.
Yeah.
So they have the benefit of not having to have all their crap out.
And they've dug up one of those retail units from back in the day that had a cartridge changer.
Oh, yeah.
So they had a bunch of their older homebrews on one system, and they could just select which game you wanted to play.
Yeah, that was neat.
It was fantastic. It is so good. Damn.
And they have prime position, too, right in the...
They're right in the front. I mean, I hope... they're so good. Al does such a good job.
And there's one thing that I wish
I could have talked to him briefly, just for a minute or two. Just, I guess I can't be that guy's friend or anything, but he does such a good job running that site and doing the homebrew store and dealing with making all those cartridges and helping out people. And I don't think he probably barely makes his money back even just to run their website. It's all done out of love.
Everything about their product is love. Like, everything is like so perfectly designed and
thank God
displayed.
Atari's always in a legal limbo so that nobody's ever really gone down on them, because if somebody really wanted to, they probably could.
Yeah. Although haven't they don't they get for like the Pac-Man games, don't they actually talk to Namco about I think they do put like a copyright notice in.
They do, but Namco's never been one to be bitching up, because you see Pac-Man shit everywhere, like all these pirate Pac-Man games, and like even there's ads on Yahoo and Facebook and stuff for play Pac-Man here, and it's not official.
But we think Nintendo did come down.
Nintendo does come down on other people, including and they could have named it Princess Rescue to try to avoid the thing, but once you get it reviewed in IGN and 1UP and stuff, it's kind of hard to stay out of Nintendo's radar.
Oh, so I went to the auction. This is something that you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. The auction is fun. I went to it last year. It's pretty much the same this year. I went to about half of it, and then I went back into the arcade. And it's cool stuff, but the prices go so high. I don't know where these people are coming from with all this money because they have like a mystery box, and people are spending like $300-400 on a mystery box was not. Well, first of all, it's not worth that because what you get is like a gift certificate or like a game that you may or may not have needed.
It's charity.
So I know, and it's for charity, but it's like I would like to pay for that, but I don't know. I paid for the show. I paid.
Kind of realizes that you live in a world where people have real money to go to these things.
Yeah.
The one in Vegas is even worse.
Oh.
There was like a Hello Kitty Xbox that was only released in Taiwan if you bought a certain television. Mm-hmm. Then you got the right to buy this particular Xbox. It went for like $800 or something ridiculous, and it was like under reserve at $800. So it was. There are some high rollers that go to these freaking things.
One thing I noticed though that there not many Atari fans, and they even commented on because they had some Atari like holiday cards that are out of print. They only have like 110, 100.
It makes me so sad that podcasters get more people than Joe's panel, or I imagine David Crane's
and
panel.
it didn't sell at the auction. Princess Rescue sold for $120 boxed. I thought it would have gone for more because it's out of print, and they probably didn't make that many.
Give it another year, it probably would have gone for more, but that's kind of a bargain.
I'm happy to say I did not see any boxed Battle Kid 2, so I don't even know what the price is on that.
Way to go, man.
Yeah. I refreshed that website like constantly for a whole day just to buy that, and turns out it was the only opportunity to buy it. So yeah, I thought yeah, it'll come back. I just want it now. So yeah.
Well, needless to say, we love this show. I didn't even get to play any tournaments this year. I mean, I played in Tetris tournament, but that's kind of its own entity. They had,
they had a pinball tournament.
They had pinball and a Mario Kart, and they had like an Atari something or other tournament that I couldn't do. And I love playing in those more minor tournaments, but didn't get a chance to do it this time around. And I guess this show's getting so big, they're just doing a regular old swap meet at Doubletree in the winter
in
time.
January. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to one vendor, and he was like, actually, it was Chris Kohler from Wired. He was like, yeah, you should just get a booth. It's $100. A table is $100, and then you save that much money on the deals you make, like before the show opens. 'Cause you get to go in early. So just have your vendor tag. Don't even set up anything.
Wow.
But we could have like a banner. Just put a banner of the podcast right on the table or that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought about it briefly. If we could have gotten Becky and Tad to come out here, because then we could have saved on passes and stuff.
Oh yeah, because that would have
taken away from the ticket. But whatever. Yeah. I still love coming out here. I don't know if I can do it next year because plane tickets out to this part of the country.
See, that's what I was saying before I went in yesterday, and like after the end of the week, I'm just like, now I gotta come back again. Like it's too good.
Yeah. It was $400+ per ticket, and I went with my wife and my kids, so we spent over $1,000 just to get here. Mm-hmm. And the hotel was a little overpriced, but it was it's a nice hotel. It's Doubletree. You're staying at the Quality Inn, which is
pretty nice.
Which is the Quality Inn, and you're by yourself. It's not like you're doing anything in here other than recording a podcast and
watching baseball.
Yeah, but this is my favorite show. I will say Vegas has a better set of panelists, and it has a better museum. Like they have the Museum of Video Game History, like all this rare and weird shit, and that's a better setup. But the overall atmosphere and that sort of thing, I think this show is better.
Everybody's super nice too.
Yes.
Like I noticed this last year. Like everybody, you can talk to anybody basically and play games with anybody, like pinball with anybody, and
I wish I was more outgoing, could do that. I was kind of in my own head most of the time. I brought my recorder to talk to people. I didn't talk to many, but whatever. This is our cool show. We're going to put this out probably sometime this week because I have to finish editing part 4 of the Wonderful 101. I'll probably do that on the plane heading home tomorrow.
We have the same flights.
Yeah, we're on the same flight.
We didn't know until yesterday.
So
all right.
But, we're about an hour right here. So,
everybody come next year.
Everybody come here next year in case we can't make it. And there's going to be a show in Vegas, and just go to these shows. And maybe next year I'll try to, if I can get a hold of somebody that runs one, I'd love to run like a tournament. I'd love to do like maybe not a hexadecathlon, but a decathlon or just something.
And I think you can point to some success you've had at
doing it at my house and doing it at
Korg's. Yeah.
There needs to be a 10-man Bomberman tournament at one of these things.
Oh, yeah.
That needs to be done.
That always blows minds, too. Nobody knows about that. So
yeah. So, thanks again for listening, guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Now you're playing with podcast.
Hey, listeners. This is Tatton. Just wanted to take a quick moment and let you know that there's lots of great places you can follow Now You're Playing With Podcast. We have a Facebook page set up, which is Now You're Playing With Fan Page. We have a Twitter account set up, which is NYPW Tweets, or Now You're Playing With Tweets. And, of course, all the episodes are available for download from NowYou'rePlayingWith.com. So we hope you enjoy the show. If you like it, please take a moment and send us a message. Let us know what you think about it. And we hope to have some more shows coming for you soon. Until then, thanks for listening.